If you are a crypto investor who values privacy, you need to do these next steps before 2027. That is, in 1 year, CARF, the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework, is going to go live across all Western nations. To be quite frank, you only have a couple of weeks before centralized exchanges are going to start collecting all of your transaction history and give it over to the taxman. That is why in the next few minutes we're going to explain what is happening behind the scenes, how you can avoid this automatic reporting without having to relocate to some Banana Republic tax haven, but most importantly, how you can continue cashing out your crypto under the radar. Without further ado, let's get into it. First off, let's break down what CARF actually does and how it differs from the traditional bank disclosures that you're very familiar with. CARF is essentially what Common Reporting Standards and FATCA did with banks, which is it wants to report all of your transactions straight to the taxman. And the easiest way to explain the difference between the two is think of bank reporting like a security camera, and crypto reporting is more or less like a motion sensor. And what I mean by that is, just like a security camera, it streams all of your information to the government no matter what you're doing. Meaning, you could have not a single penny move in your offshore bank account, and guess what? That information is still gonna be sent to your taxman. On the other hand, crypto reporting is like a motion sensor. It only gets triggered the moment something moves. So, technically speaking, you could have $1 million in your Binance account, and if you don't touch it, CARF does not get triggered, nothing gets sent back home. Yet, the moment that you swap your coins, you try to off-ramp them or send it to a different wallet, well, that's where the motion sensor lights up, and that is when CARF starts reporting. And that's the whole point of this crypto reporting framework. Not to track each coin individually, because governments know that a bunch of people have their crypto stashed in a non-KYC'd, self-custodied wallet. Rather, it is to choke off all of those easy exits when you want to cash out. And for now, the easiest off-ramp has been a centralized exchange, especially for those larger amounts, because it's convenient. Think of your crypto like a submarine. If you have it in self-custody, it's underwater. Exchanges are the easiest way to get it above water. But that's where CARF is sitting, waiting for you to resurface. Now, for those of you who are looking for ways to get around banking regulations or crypto reporting in an underground fashion, we are hosting a live event here in London on January 16. There's a bunch of things that we can't talk about in a public platform for privacy concerns, so the events link is going to be in the description down below. But back to the topic. The second regulation you guys have to look out for, in fact, your exchange has probably notified you about it, is the travel rule. Now, if CARF is sold to the public as tax reporting, then the travel rule is sold as an anti-money laundering measure, a counter-terrorism control. Of course, all of that is nonsense, but unfortunately, the consequences are very real. In that, if you send crypto through an exchange, the centralized exchange will insist that the information of the sender and receiver travels with the transfer. You can think of it like a bank payment. I mean, you have to give the identity of the recipient with the account number, the name, the reference, the address. You can't send money without putting this information for each payment. And crypto is about to work in the exact same way. Exchanges will bundle all this identity information for each transfer, and they'll log in the sender and the receiver. Now, unlike CARF, none of this gets automatically sent to the taxman. Stays within the exchange. But here's where the real risk lies. All of these Binances, Coinbases, Krakens, by logging every wallet that you interact with, including your self-custody wallets, exchanges will build massive databases of metadata. And you know darn well where that data is going to be going to. Straight to all these chain analysis firms. They're going to be selling all that data and mapping out the entire blockchain, including your identity. Put both rules together, Centralized exchanges are essentially done for anybody who values privacy. So is this the end of the world? The end for blockchain privacy? No, guys, not even close. Quite frankly, a lot of people are screaming online, but we don't see any problems. We only see solutions. Because the first thing that you have to get out of your mind is that this is some checkmate move on getting your crypto into a bank account. It's not. All it killed is the ability to get it from a centralized exchange account off-ramped into your bank account. And quite frankly, that was never the only option to begin with. I know a lot of people, they did that for the past decade. They were trading on Binance and then cashing out through Wise or Revolut or their bank account. That era is over. But other options, such as decentralized peer-to-peer marketplaces or payment service providers, they lie outside of the scope of CARF. Even though regulators foolishly added decentralized exchanges as reportable entities, if you have any clue about crypto, specifically on DEXs, you know that this is just a ridiculous idea because there is no centralized point of control. And if there is no centralized service provider, then there is nobody responsible to do the actual reporting. So, step number one, get your crypto off of centralized exchanges. You keep it in self-custody. I don't have to expand on that. You want to keep the submarine underwater. And then, step number two, is use decentralized peer-to-peer marketplaces. They fall outside of the scope of CARF, and there are many good ones, such as Bisq or RoboSats or RedoSwap or Esteco. I mean, the list goes on and on. The only issue you'll find is liquidity. They're great for small amounts, such as a couple hundred or thousands of dollars. But once you start pushing 5, even 6 figures in a single go, you're just gonna have trouble finding the other side of the trade, people willing to buy such large amounts from you, and it's a bit risky. Now, for the larger cash outs, say the 5, 6, even 7-figure transfers, the real innovation comes from payment service providers, or PSPs in short. I made a bunch of videos about them. They're essentially middlemen brokers who are going to take your crypto, they're going to shapeshift it from their multiple aged companies into a clean B2B business transfer into your account. They're essentially there to step in when P2P liquidity dries up. And the way they work in practice is they have an entire network of these aged companies with long-standing business bank accounts as well as centralized crypto exchange accounts. And they're going to take that crypto and make it go through these aged companies so that you would actually have an explanation on how you got the money in the first place. So step number one would be you sending the crypto from your self-custodied cold storage wallet to their system. And the trick is that crypto you'll send them is not going to hit a centralized exchange. You see, they have 2 separate wallets. Wallet A is where they're going to pull in all of your funds, and then wallet B is going to be tied to one of those aged companies. And that's where the crypto is going to be sent into, say, Kraken, Binance, Coinbase, whatever. So when one of these exchanges generates a CARF report, your name doesn't appear anywhere. It is the aged company that goes through all the KYC process, not you. And quite frankly, the payment service provider doesn't really care about the CARF report. It doesn't affect them because either they're operating from a non-CARF compliant jurisdiction, or even if they are, it's a tax haven. So if there is a report, guess what? 0% tax on $1 million transfer is still going to be 0. Now, the last step is you receiving a bank transfer from one of those aged companies where you're going to have a reference for, say, services rendered. And of course, they're going to give you the invoices, they're going to give you all the documentation, but it does require one thing, which is for you to have a business to get the money in the first place. Because if you're going to receive a $500,000 transfer from some random Hong Kong export shipping company into your personal account, listen, the bank is going to raise a bunch of red flags. Obviously, these payment service providers are going to charge a commission. No surprises there, but let's be real. Even if they charge, say, 3% on a six-figure cash out. You are buying the privacy as well as the clean paper trail without having to involve an army of lawyers, pay for a nominee frontman, or set up a bunch of expensive offshore industries. Because here's the thing that lawyers will not tell you when they're trying to promote these very extravagant setups. Even if you do end up getting a corporate account for a trust or a foundation, while great for asset protection, it does not mean that you're going to get easy confidentiality or anonymity, because all of these exchanges are going to consider you as the founder of a foundation or the settlor of some trust to be the ultimate beneficial owner, meaning you're going to have to file KYC, and yes, your information on the account is going to be reported to your home tax authorities. To do it right, you need to hire a professional frontman nominee to be the settlor or the founder, and of course, that drives up the costs. It is no longer a cheap solution. Another option is to choose an exchange in a non-participating jurisdiction, but unfortunately, those nations are dwindling fast with OECD's pressure. As of today, there are 77 countries that have joined CARF, and that number is just simply going to keep on growing. In fact, there are many regions, such as the EU, that will ban users from using centralized exchanges that are not part of CARF. So you're essentially sailing against the wind if you go down this strategy. And who knows, the FATF may list them as gray service providers, and boom, it'll be very difficult for you to off-ramp your crypto into good banks. We'll go into more details with real-world examples at our live event here in London on January 16. We'd love to see you in person, but that's it for today's video. I wish to see you, but that's it for today's presentation. If you enjoy this type of content, as always, you can comment down below or share it with a friend, but I'll be seeing you next time. Until then, bye-bye.